Have you ever been at the gym and then you're working out and you see a cute girl walk past you? You know, as you're in the middle of your lift, you're doing bicep curls or whatever. You see this cute girl and then you kind of freeze up a little bit. Do you ever notice, like, in the back of your mind, you see her and then you're like doing your lift, but you're like trying to look over, you know, you're trying to peep through the mirrors and stuff and do the geometry so you can see her like back there, like, oh damn, she's hella cute. But in that situation, do you ever notice how your mind kind of gets stuck? You can't really focus on your workout anymore. You just keep thinking about this cute girl that just walked by. I've experienced that myself. And I think not just guys, but a lot of people experience that whenever we see an attractive person, not just at the gym, but maybe walking down the street, at the store, at school. You kind of just start to fixate on them and get a little obsessed with them. You can't just move on with what you were doing. I think the reason for this is that you put people on a pedestal when you find them physically attractive. You're getting caught up in the looks on the surface level, and you can't go any deeper. You can't see who they are as people. You can't look them in the eyes. Remember the last video I said the eyes are the window to the soul. You can get a lot of information just intuitively from looking at someone in the eyes when they speak. When you can't even look somebody in the eyes, you can't really tell who they are, because when you make eye contact with someone, whether you're looking at them from afar or you're having a conversation with them, you can get a lot of information about them subconsciously. Our brains are wired to pick up on all these subtle cues of body language, of tonality, of eye contact, so that we can kind of read a person without them even needing to say anything. Because of this culture that we live in, where there's so much over-sexualization, we just get stuck on the physical. Your thoughts, again, are sticky and they're blocked and they're not just flowing through your mind. You start getting fixated on this idea. Now, there should only be two options when you actually do see an attractive person. Either you see them and you go and approach, go and introduce yourself, say hi, or you see them and then you just keep doing what you were doing. You just move on with your day. You don't want to get stuck or fixated on the idea of a person, especially when that idea is based on nothing more than the way they look on the outside. You don't know who that person is. You don't know anything about them. You don't know what their personality is like, what their life experience has been like up until this point. You don't know what their hopes and dreams are. You don't know what their goals or passions are. You don't know anything about them. But what tends to happen when we see an attractive person? We start writing fan fiction in our heads and we start fantasizing and fixating on all these different ideas about what we would do with that person or what we would say to that person. But in reality, nothing changes. All of that story that's happening, that movie that's playing out, is in your mind. Nothing has happened in reality, because we live in this world where we're all chronically online and our social skills are deteriorating and we can't just talk to someone face to face and just have a conversation with a fellow human being. And because of, you know, this culture of watching so much prawn and looking at all these e-girls on like OnlyFans, all that garbage, people, but especially guys, are just training their brains for that overstimulation. You need that next quick hit of dopamine. Just look at the next girl's picture and the next girl and the next girl. Because of that fantasy land that you're creating, because of all the content you're consuming, all the types of content you're consuming, it creates this fantasy land, and now you're training your brain to put women on a pedestal, to put attractive people on a pedestal. We all have a natural biological bias as human beings to put people that we deem as physically attractive up on this pedestal. But because of what you constantly consume, it's like times 10, it's even worse. And now you view that cute girl that just walked by as this unicorn, as this magical entity that can never be approached, that you can never even communicate with. And you're building this habit of you just being the silent observer, the passive observer in the background of your own romantic life, of your own dating life. So because of the way you're training your mind, you get stuck on having an end goal. You can't just enjoy the present moment and flow with it. So what I mean by that is, for example, you can't just go and talk to the girl and just have a conversation with a fellow human being. You can't just go and have an interaction and then just enjoy that and be present with that and see what the vibe is and then just go with the flow from there. No, if you do approach, a lot of times we're thinking, oh, I need to get her number. You know, I need to say the right line. You know, what did these guys on YouTube say that give me all the pickup lines? Like, what am I supposed to say that's going to get her to like me right now? Side note, you can't get someone to like you. You have to just be yourself, and they either like you or they don't. In this scenario, you don't really care about the interaction itself. You're not actually paying attention to what she's saying. You're not paying attention to the actual conversation that's being had. You're just kind of thinking in the back of your mind, okay, when's the right time to ask for the number? When's the right time to ask her out on a date? And you make the conversation awkward in that way. You make the interaction awkward because you don't actually give a fuck about the interaction itself. And it shows in your energy, in your nonverbal communication, like I just talked about, in your eye contact or lack thereof, in your poor body language, in your tonality that's just trying to rush to the end. You're trying to speed run the conversation so you can get to the point where you ask for her number, because that's all you really care about, is that end goal. You're thinking about it transactionally. We're thinking about it in the sense of, what can I get from this person? You're not actually going and talking to them just to talk to them and to get to know them. You're only thinking about yourself and what you want, without any thought to if they want the same thing reciprocated back from you. So going back to the whole point about all of us being chronically online and our social skills deteriorating, I heard this great quote from this guy on YouTube. I think he was a little younger than me, but he's just a really wise kid. And what he said was, if you want to learn how to talk to women, you need to learn how to talk to people, because a woman is just a human being. And when I say that, that sounds like common sense, right? Like, no shit, women are just people. But again, because of the way that we're living nowadays, we literally, as guys especially, we get to a point where we're consuming all this content and just viewing women as objects. We're just viewing women as objects for sexual pleasure or for giving us that quick hit of dopamine. And again, you're going into all these interactions with women transactionally. You're not thinking about the interaction itself. You're just thinking about, what can I get out of this? If you spend all day staring at a screen, just only interacting with women through a screen, then no shit, you can't interact face to face anymore. How can you go and talk to that cute girl if you can't even have a conversation with like the old lady who's walking down the street? You can't even sit still and just have a conversation and get to know someone. When you have this transactional vibe, it comes across as very needy or even desperate or thirsty. One thing that I've always heard in terms of business, but it relates to dating too, is that needy is creepy. When you come across as needy, or that you're trying to get something out of someone, you come across as a bit creepy, as a bit desperate. And that's very off-putting. That's a turnoff for anybody, really. And then you wonder why that person that you were trying to get their number, you wonder why they don't like you, or that they said no, or they gave you the wrong number. It's because you came across way too strong, way too pushy, way too thirsty, trying too hard, doing too much. You're already putting her on a pedestal just because of the way she looks. She hasn't had to prove anything to you. She hasn't had to do anything to earn your attention or earn your affection. You're just giving that to her just for existing. So how can you expect her to value your attention and value your affection if you're just giving it away to any cute girl who walks by for free? Another point I really want to make on this is that watching too much porn is really affecting how you view women and how you view yourself in relation to them. What are you doing? You're watching a video of two people having sex. You're watching a video of some girl that you find attractive having sex with another dude that isn't you. You're literally cucking yourself. Whatever chair you were sitting in has now turned into the cuck chair. You're willingly cucking yourself. You're sitting in a dark room all by yourself with your tissues and your lotion, just touching yourself, watching this girl get fucked by another dude. Like, really think about that. It's weird, but you're programming your mind to be, again, the passive observer when it comes to sex and when it comes to interactions with the opposite sex. You just sit there with the fucking dick in your hand. You're just sitting there shooting ropes on yourself. Pause. You're nutting on yourself. Pause on that. But that's what you're doing, bro. You're wasting this energy on pixels on a screen. Think about it. You're nutting on yourself, dude, and that energy can literally create life. You could literally create a child with that. That is life-giving potent energy and you're just wasting it on being a cuck. And then what happens when you nut? You feel bad. You get the post-nut clarity because you're like, oh, I'm sitting here all by myself and I'm not actually the one having sex and potentially reproducing. And so your brain is just like, what the fuck? We thought we were having sex. You gaslit us into believe that we were, but really that was the prawn hijacking your brain.
What have I done?
Over time, it rewires your brain chemistry to the point where you can only get off to these videos. You can only get off to watching women get fucked by other dudes. There are literally guys walking around nowadays in their early 20s, like in college, who go online and talk about how they can't get it up with a woman. Like if you're like 18, 19, 20 watching this and you can't get it up with a woman, that is a problem. Your testosterone should not be that low. Your sex drive should not be that fucked up. But you've been watching so much of this garbage that your brain now thinks, oh, I can only get it up if I'm on the hub and I'm watching fucking some weird ass video, watching some fucking hentai like monster rape shit, weird ass shit that you be watching. I've said this in a previous video, but you've literally become porn sexual. You can only get aroused now by that overstimulation because that is what your brain is used to. You've been consuming more of that than you have actually been having sex. So now you have erectile dysfunction and now you have premature ejaculation that you might be dealing with because all of your sexual energy has been put towards prawn and the pixels on the screen, and that has become your sex life. That has become your little fantasy land that you've created, and you don't even know how to operate in reality again. You don't even know how to operate around another human being of the opposite sex. You could flip everything I'm saying, and there are women who are addicted to prawn that feel weird and awkward around guys they find attractive. It goes both ways. This is not just a men's issue. Unfortunately, this affects women too. But when you're constantly watching these videos and you're constantly cucking yourself, you're creating a level of insecurity and inadequacy. You don't feel like you're good enough. You're not the guy who can go out there and get that cute girl that's walking by. You're not the guy who can go out and talk to her. You're not attractive enough in your mind. In your mind, your pee-pee isn't big enough because you've been watching all these videos and now you're subconsciously comparing yourself to other people, which you should not be doing, but that's what you're training your mind to do. And so now you feel less than, you feel unworthy. You don't even feel like you're capable of getting any sort of girl, let alone one that you find really physically attractive. So that's why then you freeze up and you have this fixation because you've trained your brain to only spend time in fantasy land and you don't see these cute girls or these attractive people as people anymore. They're just objects in your fantasy land created to get you off, created to get you aroused, created to get you that hit of dopamine that you've been searching for. So you're already dealing with all these physical issues, right? The inadequacy, the insecurity, the ED, the premature nutting, like all this stuff is making you feel insecure. And then the fact that you keep going back to it and keep making yourself feel worse. So all of these things are bogging you down and destroying your confidence and creating massive anxiety and insecurity within you. So you've got all this disharmony inside of you, all this internal strife going on inside of you. You don't even know who you are anymore. You don't even know what you're into anymore. You don't even really like yourself anymore or what you're doing, and you look in the mirror and you don't like the person that you see. So how can other people like you? You don't even like yourself. Even if you are getting laid and you are having sex, a lot of people nowadays are just having sex with whomever, just whoever is down. No standards, doesn't matter what kind of person they are, doesn't matter what they look like, if you're even fucking attracted to them or not. You're just willing to share that life-giving energy with anybody. There's no sexual discipline. And because you're, again, like I said before, because you're giving it away for free, it's of low value. People tend to value things more that they have to pay a lot of money for or that they have to work hard to earn. So when you reduce the availability of your attention or of your energy, you reduce the supply of it, All of a sudden the demand goes up. All of a sudden it's seen as more valuable. But a lot of people just run around giving it away for free. The supply of your attention and of your sexual energy is very high. So there's low demand for it. This is basic economics. So then you wonder why you have no drive, no motivation, no energy to do anything. There's no vigor to go out and create the life, the reality that you really want to live. And so it's easier to just hide in your room and hide behind those pixels on the screen and hide in that fantasy land, thus deteriorating your social skills even further, making it even harder to talk to people, thus making it even more appealing and more likely that you're just going to go back to the fantasy land, because that way you don't have to face your fears. That way you can just be the man, you can be the king, you can be that dude in your mind, but not in reality, just in this false illusion that you're living in. You can pretend like you're the guy in the porno video. You can pretend like you're him, even though you're not.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
It's delusional. A lot of dudes out here are delusional. And again, it's not just the dudes. There's a lot of delusional women out here. If you flip the genders, it's the same thing. So again, I always say this, but be careful what you consume or it will consume you. I'm going to say this a lot because it's true. When you're constantly consumed by lust and hedonism and over-sexualization, how can you possibly have good interactions with people? How can you see that cute girl, going all the way back to the example from the beginning? How can you see that cute girl and have any sort of interaction with her? You're so lost in the depths of your mind, of this delusional fantasy land that you've been trapped in, that you've been programmed into. How can you possibly pay attention to what she's actually saying or look her in the eyes and just see her for the human being that she is and see past the surface level, see past her looks? How can you possibly talk to any attractive person? They're not even people to you anymore. Again, you're objectifying them. You've been programmed to objectify people and treat them like literally objects and view them as objects for your own pleasure. It's no wonder you can't be present, because you have no practice to be present. There's no room for you to be present when you're constantly being hit with distractions and stimulation left and right. But now you have an opportunity to get out of this way of thinking. So what is the solution then? Because at the end of the day, this is not your fault. You've been programmed to think this way. I'd say the number one thing is to desexualize your brain. You've seen a lot of people talk about desexualize your brain. All that means is stop watching porn. Stop going on Instagram or TikTok or even Reddit and trying to look at pictures of all these hot girls or all these attractive people. Stop consuming all that. Now you're going to start to find healthier ways to transmute all that sexual, potent, life-creating energy. You can go to the gym instead. You can start creating your dream physique. You could put that towards your work and creating a better career or creating a business that you're building on the side. You could put that energy towards actually going out and talking to real people now, because now you're starting to see people as people again. So now you have an actual chance to better yourself. You have an actual chance to focus on your problems and solving them instead of using things like porn to distract yourself. You can now face your fears, face the problems that you are running away from. Because at the end of the day, nobody can face your inner demons except for you. Nobody can fully solve your problems except you. And so now when you go and you see that cute girl next time, you can actually just go and talk to her and say hello, go and introduce yourself. You can actually look her in the eyes and actually see who she really is and actually listen to her words and connect with a fellow human being. Because that's all that having game is just social skills. It's just, can you connect with another human being? We're all just people on this planet. It doesn't matter what we look like. It doesn't matter how attractive someone is. Nobody is above you and nobody's below you. We're all right here. We're all equal. We're all experiencing this journey called life together. When you stop using all this overstimulation to distract from yourself, distract from your own problems, then you're able to start healing yourself. You're able to face yourself and to know yourself and start loving and respecting yourself and understanding who you are. Because it's so much easier to connect with another human being when you're already connecting with yourself. It's easier to listen to someone else and empathize with someone else when you can already listen and empathize with yourself. It's so much easier to love and respect another person when you already love and respect yourself. So I hope you got a lot out of this video today. Please stop putting people on a pedestal just because they look good. That means absolutely nothing in the long run, has absolutely no bearing on who they are as people. Focus not on the way someone looks, but on the content of their character. Because ultimately, that will tell you so much more about them and about your compatibility with them. I hope you guys have a blessed day. Talk to you guys next time.